The notification sound from our shared tablet made me look up from my laptop. Dana had left it open on the kitchen counter, and I could see her group chat lighting up with messages. I wasn't trying to snoop, but when you see your own name mentioned repeatedly, curiosity wins. Ghost him for a month. He'll crawl back and obey like a trained dog. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Dana's message thread with her 3 closest friends was right there in black and white. My wife of 4 years, the woman who posted daily about our perfect marriage to her 100,000 Instagram followers, was plotting to emotionally manipulate me. The power balance needs a reset, Maya had typed. Men only understand dominance. Jenna added, my ex tried this rebellion thing too. 2 weeks of silence and he was begging. Kate, always the voice of reason, had written, isn't this a bit cruel? But she was quickly shouted down by the others. Dana's final message made my stomach turn. Eric's too soft to fight back. This content retreat with Aiden will be perfect timing. When I come back, he'll be eating out of my hand. Aiden, the gym owner she'd been collaborating with for her fitness content. The guy who drove a bright red Porsche and wore gold chains like it was still 1995. I'd always thought their partnership was purely professional, despite the way he looked at her during their workout videos. I screenshotted everything, then quietly closed the tablet. Dana was upstairs packing for her week-long content creation retreat in Malibu. She'd been distant for weeks, barely speaking to me except when the camera was rolling for her stories about our amazing husband and wife team. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dana made her living selling the fantasy of our perfect relationship while plotting its destruction behind the scenes. Her followers ate up every staged photo of us cooking together, every carefully scripted video about marriage goals and supporting each other's dreams. Babe, can you help me with my suitcase? She called from upstairs. Coming, I replied, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. I found her in our bedroom, surrounded by designer clothes and enough makeup to stock a small store. She looked up at me with those perfect blue eyes that had first caught my attention at a tech conference 3 years ago. Back then, she was just starting her influencer career. Now she had brand deals with major companies and made more money than my software development job ever could. I'm going to miss you, she said, wrapping her arms around my neck. The camera on her phone was positioned perfectly to catch the moment. A whole week without my amazing husband. I'll miss you too, I lied, playing along for the camera. Have fun creating content. She posted the video within minutes, captioned, hate leaving my love behind, but this retreat is going to be amazing for my brand. Missing him already. Marriage goals. Content creator. Blessed. The comments flooded in immediately. You two are so cute. Relationship goals. Eric is so supportive. If they only knew. After Dana left for the airport, I sat in our expensive downtown loft apartment and made a decision. If she wanted to ghost me, she was going to get more than she bargained for. But first, I needed to protect myself. I started with our finances. We had separate accounts, but also a joint savings account with about $40,000. I transferred my half to my personal account, then closed the joint account entirely. Dana had always been careless with money, assuming I'd handle the practical stuff while she focused on her brand. Next, I called our credit card companies. Since I was the primary account holder on most of them, I removed Dana as an authorized user. Her spending habits had gotten out of control lately, $1,000 handbags for content creation, and expensive dinners she wrote off as business meetings. The apartment lease was in both our names, but I'd been the one paying rent for the past year while Dana invested her earnings back into her business. I contacted our landlord and explained I'd be moving out. Since we were month to month, I only needed 30 days' notice. My friend Tom came over that evening to help me start packing. Tom was a fellow software developer, the kind of guy who said exactly what he thought and had never liked Dana's fake social media persona. So she's really trying to ghost you? He asked, wrapping my computer equipment in bubble wrap. According to her master plan, yes. She thinks a week of silence will break me down into an obedient little husband. Tom snorted. She's been watching too many of those dating guru videos. What's your play? I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. Complete silence, but she's going to come home to a few surprises. We worked through the night, carefully packing everything that belonged to me, my books, my electronics, my furniture that I'd bought before we got married. I'd found a furnished short-term rental across town, perfect for what I had planned. The hardest part was staying quiet on social media. Dana had been posting constantly from her retreat, photos of her morning smoothies, sunset yoga sessions, and creative brainstorming sessions that looked suspiciously like vacation photos. Her followers were eating it up, completely unaware that she was probably sharing those sunsets with Aiden. On day 3 of her trip, I found more evidence. Dana had been careless with her cloud storage, and we shared a family account. Mixed in with her thousands of selfies were photos I wasn't supposed to see. Aiden's hands on her waist during a workout demonstration. The two of them in what was clearly a hotel room, not the wellness retreat center she'd shown her followers. I saved everything to a separate drive. If Dana wanted to play games, I was going to make sure I had all the cards. By the end of the week, our apartment was completely empty of my belongings. I'd hired professional movers to get the furniture, and Tom had helped me clear out the smaller items. The place looked like a showroom, beautiful but cold, just like Dana's online persona. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter where her tablet usually sat, along with a simple note. I learned my place, far from you. Then I waited. Dana's flight was supposed to land at 8 p.m. on Sunday. I'd blocked her number, but I could still see her social media posts. She'd shared a story about being so excited to see my hubby with a plain emoji and heart eyes. At 9:47 p.m., my phone started buzzing with notifications from blocked numbers. She was calling from different phones, probably borrowed from friends or strangers at the airport. I let every call go to voicemail. The next morning, I unblocked her number just long enough to see the flood of messages. Where is everything? Eric, what the hell did you do? This isn't funny. Where are you? My followers are asking questions and I don't know what to tell them. That last message made me smile. Dana's entire brand was built on the illusion of our perfect life together. How was she going to explain to her 100,000 followers that her husband had vanished along with all his possessions? I blocked her number again and went to work as usual. My coworkers at the software company knew Dana from company parties and had always been impressed by her social media success. When they asked how she was doing, I just smiled and said she was busy with her brand. The real fun started when Dana's carefully constructed online world began to crumble. She couldn't post any of her usual home content because our apartment was now a sterile, empty space. Her followers started noticing the absence of couple photos and asking questions in the comments. Where's Eric been lately? Haven't seen hubby in your stories. Everything okay at home? Dana tried to deflect with generic wellness content and throwback photos, but her engagement was dropping. The algorithm rewarded consistency, and her sudden shift away from relationship content was hurting her reach. Meanwhile, I was building my case. Through a private investigator, completely legal and above board, I gathered evidence of Dana's affair with Aiden. Photos of them together during times when she'd told me she was at business meetings. Credit card receipts from expensive restaurants where they had had romantic dinners. Hotel bookings that didn't match her supposed work travel. The PI also uncovered something interesting about Aiden's gym business. He'd been inflating his membership numbers and faking testimonials for his online training programs. Several former clients had complained about fraudulent charges and unfulfilled promises. It wasn't illegal, exactly, but it was the kind of information that could destroy a fitness influencer's reputation. 3 weeks after Dana's return, I decided it was time to make my first public move. Aiden hosted a weekly Fitness Friday event at his gym, which Dana had been promoting heavily on her social media. She'd been trying to maintain her normal content schedule despite our separation, pretending everything was fine while desperately trying to reach me through mutual friends and even showing up at my office. I walked into Aiden's gym during the middle of his group training session. The place was packed with people recording videos for their social media accounts, including Dana, who was positioned at the front of the class in a designer workout outfit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Eric, she called out when she saw me, her voice a mixture of relief and panic. Everyone, this is my amazing husband I've been telling you about. The class turned to look at me, phone still recording. I smiled and waved, playing the part for just a moment. Hi, everyone, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the gym. I just wanted to thank Dana and Aiden for teaching me so much about relationships lately. Dana's face went pale. Aiden stopped mid-rep and turned toward me, his expression wary. Especially about the importance of honesty, I continued, pulling out my phone, like being honest about where you go on business trips. I held up my phone, showing a photo of Dana and Aiden kissing outside a Malibu hotel. The gym went silent, except for the sound of people still recording. Eric, don't, Dana started, but I wasn't finished. And being honest about your business practices, I said, turning to Aiden, like those fake testimonials and phantom memberships you've been selling. Aiden's face went red. He stepped toward me, his fists clenched. You need to leave, now. Oh, I'm leaving, I said, backing toward the door. But first, I pretended to trip, bumping into the table where Aiden kept his protein shakes and supplements. The entire display crashed to the floor, covering his expensive gym bag and designer shoes in sticky green liquid. "Oops," I said. "Sorry about that. I guess I'm just clumsy when I'm surprised by affairs and fraud." I walked out of the gym while chaos erupted behind me. People were shouting, phones were recording, and Dana was crying. It was exactly the kind of public scene she'd spent years trying to avoid. The videos hit social media within hours. Dana's carefully curated image was shattered as clips of the confrontation went viral. Her followers were divided between those who felt sorry for her and those who were angry about being deceived. The comments on her posts became brutal. "So your perfect marriage was all fake? How long were you cheating? This is why I don't trust influencers. Poor Eric, you don't deserve him." Dana tried to do damage control with a tearful video explaining that she and Eric were going through a difficult time and asking for privacy. But the internet doesn't forgive easily, especially when it feels betrayed. Her follower count started dropping, and several brand partnerships were quietly terminated. Aiden faced his own reckoning. Former clients came forward with stories of overcharged credit cards and unfulfilled training programs. The local news picked up the story, and his gym's reputation was destroyed almost overnight. He tried to blame me for the attack, but the evidence of his fraudulent business practices was overwhelming. But Dana wasn't finished fighting. A month after the gym incident, she showed up at my new apartment with reinforcements. Maya and Jenna flanked her like bodyguards, all three of them dressed in expensive athleisure and radiating entitlement. "We need to talk," Dana announced when I opened the door. "No, we don't," I replied, but they pushed past me into my apartment anyway. "You've humiliated her enough," Maya said, her voice sharp with accusation. "This has gone too far." "Dana made a mistake," Jenna added, "but destroying her career is cruel and petty." I looked at the three women who had plotted my emotional manipulation and felt a familiar surge of anger. These were the people who had encouraged Dana to ghost me, who had treated our marriage like a game to be won. "A mistake?" I repeated. "Which mistake? The affair, the manipulation, or the fraud?" "There was no fraud," Dana protested. "My business is legitimate." "Is it?" I pulled out my laptop and opened a folder I'd been preparing. "Because I have screenshots of you claiming tax deductions for personal expenses, inflating your engagement numbers for brand deals, and using fake testimonials for products you were paid to promote." Dana's face went white. She hadn't known I'd been documenting her business practices, but living with someone for 4 years gives you access to a lot of information. "You can't prove any of that," Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Actually, I can, and I've already shared it with the FTC and several of Dana's former brand partners. Turns out companies don't like being lied to about engagement metrics and audience demographics." The room went silent. Dana sank onto my couch, her perfect composure finally cracking completely. "Why are you doing this to me?" she whispered. "I'm not doing anything to you," I replied. "I'm just making sure the truth comes out. You wanted to ghost me, remember? You got exactly what you asked for." Jenna and Maya exchanged worried looks. They were starting to realize that their little manipulation game had serious consequences. "We could go to the police," Maya threatened. "This is harassment." "Please do," I said. "I'd love to show them the screenshots of your group chat where you plan to emotionally abuse me. I'm sure they'd find it very interesting." That was the end of their visit. They left without another word, Dana crying silently while her friends tried to console her. I watched from my window as they got into Maya's car and drove away, probably planning their next move, but I was already 3 steps ahead of them. The next phase of my plan involved Aiden directly. His gym was struggling after the scandal, and he'd been lashing out on social media, posting angry rants about fake accusations and jealous husbands. He'd even posted a photo of my car with the caption, "Some people can't handle the truth." That was his mistake. I waited until Aiden was hosting one of his remaining group classes, then called in a tip to the parking enforcement about an illegally parked red Porsche. His car was in a loading zone, which he'd been getting away with for months by charming the local traffic officers. This time, I made sure there was no charm involved. I also called the health department about some concerns I had regarding the gym's cleanliness standards. Everything I reported was true. I'd observed it during my previous visits, but Aiden had been skating by on his reputation and connections. The health inspector arrived at the same time as the tow truck. Aiden came running out of his gym to find his precious Porsche being loaded onto a flatbed, while a city official wrote citations for multiple health code violations. "You can't do this," he shouted at the tow truck driver. "Already doing it," the driver replied. "Vehicle's been in violation for over an hour." I watched the whole thing from across the street, recording it on my phone. Aiden's face was purple with rage as he screamed at city officials who were just doing their jobs. When he spotted me, he lost what little control he had left. "This is your fault," he yelled, charging across the street. I was ready for him. As soon as he stepped into the crosswalk, I started live streaming to my own social media accounts, something I'd never done before, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Hey everyone," I said calmly into the camera. "I'm just here documenting some interesting city services, and it looks like someone's really upset about following parking laws." Aiden reached me just as the live stream hit its stride. He grabbed for my phone, trying to stop the recording, but I stepped back and kept the camera rolling. "Sir, you're being recorded," I said loudly. "I'd suggest you calm down before you do something you'll regret." But Aiden was beyond reason. He swung at me, a wild haymaker that I easily dodged. His momentum carried him forward, and he stumbled into a nearby lamppost. In his confusion and rage, he managed to trip over his own feet and fall face first into a puddle left by the morning street cleaning. The live stream captured everything. Aiden's attack, his stumble, and his humiliating fall were broadcast to several hundred viewers in real time. The comments were brutal. "Dude just got owned by a lamppost. This is what roid rage looks like? Someone call the cops on this psycho." That last comment turned out to be prophetic. Several viewers had already called 911 after witnessing Aiden's assault attempt. Police arrived within minutes to find him soaked, muddy, and still ranting about conspiracies and fake accusations. I calmly showed the officers my livestream footage, which clearly showed Aiden attacking me unprovoked. He was arrested for assault and disturbing the peace, while I was thanked for my cooperation and sent on my way. The video went viral within hours. Lamppost justice became a trending hashtag, and Aiden became a laughingstock across multiple social media platforms. His remaining gym memberships were canceled, his lease was terminated, and his influencer career was effectively over. Dana tried one last desperate move. She posted a long, emotional video to her remaining followers, claiming that I was an abusive husband who had manipulated and controlled her throughout our marriage. She painted herself as a victim who had finally found the courage to leave, only to be stalked and harassed by her vindictive ex. It was a compelling performance, complete with tears and trembling hands. For a moment, I almost admired her acting skills. But Dana had made one crucial mistake. She'd forgotten that I had evidence of everything. I responded with my own video, calmly and methodically presenting the timeline of our relationship's end. I showed the screenshots of her group chat, the evidence of her affair, and the documentation of her business fraud. I let the facts speak for themselves, never raising my voice or making personal attacks. The contrast was stark. Dana's emotional manipulation versus my calm presentation of evidence, her hysteria versus my measured response. The internet made its judgment quickly and decisively. Her remaining followers abandoned her in droves. Brand partners issued statements distancing themselves from her. Even her own friends began backing away as the full scope of her deception became clear. But the final blow came from an unexpected source. Kate, the one friend who had questioned the ghosting plan from the beginning. She reached out to me privately, apologizing for her role in the scheme and offering to provide additional evidence of Dana's manipulation. "I should have spoken up sooner," she wrote. "What you're going through isn't right, and I have recordings of Dana admitting to things that would shock people." Kate had been documenting Dana's behavior for months, apparently growing increasingly uncomfortable with her friend's manipulation and lies. She had audio recordings of Dana laughing about her stupid husband and planning her affair with Aiden. She also had evidence of Dana's plans to monetize our divorce by playing the victim for sympathy content. With Kate's evidence, I had everything I needed for the final phase of my plan. I waited for the perfect moment, Dana's attempted comeback. After weeks of silence, she posted a new video announcing her healing journey and promising to share her story of surviving emotional abuse. She'd partnered with a women's advocacy group and was planning a speaking tour about toxic relationships. That's when I released everything. The audio recordings of Dana laughing about manipulating me, the screenshots of her detailed affair planning, the evidence of her scheme to monetize our divorce, and most damaging of all, her own words admitting that she'd never been abused, that she was simply playing a role to rebuild her brand. The response was immediate and devastating. The women's advocacy group dropped her within hours. The speaking tour was canceled. Her remaining social media accounts were flooded with accusations of exploiting real abuse survivors for personal gain. Dana tried to claim the recordings were fake, but audio analysis proved they were authentic. She tried to say she was joking, but the context made it clear she was serious. She tried to disappear from social media entirely, but the internet has a long memory. 6 months after Dana had left for her content retreat planning to ghost me into submission, she was working at a coffee shop in another state, her influencer career completely destroyed. Aiden had moved back in with his mother and was facing multiple lawsuits from former gym clients. Meanwhile, I'd been promoted at work, had started dating a wonderful woman who valued honesty over image, and had gained a reputation as someone you didn't want to cross. The story of my revenge had become legendary in certain online circles, a cautionary tale about the dangers of manipulation and deceit. I never spoke to Dana again after that confrontation in my apartment. I didn't need to. She taught me an important lesson about knowing my place, and I'd learned it well. My place was far from people who saw relationships as games to be won rather than partnerships to be cherished. My place was with people who valued truth over image, substance over style, authenticity over influence. Dana had been right about one thing. I had learned my place. Just not the way she'd intended. As I sat in my new apartment, watching the sunset through windows that weren't staged for social media, I reflected on how much my life had changed. The woman I'd once loved had revealed herself to be someone I'd never really known. The marriage I'd thought was real had been nothing more than content for her brand. But in losing everything I thought I wanted, I'd gained something much more valuable, the knowledge that I deserved better. That manipulation disguised as love wasn't love at all. That someone who truly cared about me would never plot my emotional destruction for their own entertainment. Dana had wanted to reset the power balance in our relationship. She'd succeeded beyond her wildest dreams. The balance was permanently reset, with her having no power over me at all. I raised my coffee mug in a silent toast to the lesson she'd taught me, even if it wasn't the one she'd intended. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about building a better life without them. But in Dana's case, I'd done both.